Diana J. Brodie here from Next Level Editing Academy, and today I'm going to be talking about the top 3 mistakes that I see editors making. Now, this is going to be done in Premiere Pro, so this is going to be a Premiere Pro video editing tutorial, little bit, but this applies to all NLEs, any nonlinear editor that you're using. This will apply to in a little segment that I like to call Avoid These Mistakes. These are mistakes that I see being made a lot, and let's try and head them off at the pass. Okay, first starting with, please stop dragging your clips into the timeline. I know that you're able to do it, and every now and again, especially with like a graphic, I may just drag and drop it into my sequence, but I don't do it very often. So I am begging you, please get out of the habit of dragging and dropping, right? So I could come here and I could set, here's my in, right? So my in's here. If I go +2 seconds, set my out there, and then I can just take that and drag that into the timeline, right? Boom, there it is. It's in my timeline. It needs to be scaled up, but you guys get the idea, right? Now I've just dragged it right down here. There's so many different ways that things can go wrong when you just drag it into the timeline like that, right? Like, let's say I just drag it in and I put it here. Now I've stepped over something and I didn't mean to accidentally, right? Like, so now I just stepped completely over that. Or what if I want to, I like all of this, I want to break these sound bites up with this, and I drag it in. I can't just get it in between by dragging and dropping. So then what am I doing? I'm dragging it to here. I have to select these clips. Now I have to unselect this clip. Then I have to move these clips over. And then I've got to move this down. Like, come on, seriously? That is the worst possible workflow I can imagine. Please stop dragging and dropping. I've seen people screw up their timeline so many times by dragging something in and then it steps over something or it's pushed stuff away, right? You see, there are modifiers you can use when you're dragging it in, right? So if I hold down Command and I drag this into the timeline. I'm holding down Command. I'm assuming on a PC you would want to hold down Control. And I drag this in. It will do an insert. See how it pushed everything away and inserted this picture. So you can do an insert edit that way by dragging and dropping if you hold the modifier key Command. However, look what I've done. Now I accidentally, like this, that should be over here. Whoops, that's a mistake. So that should be over here, right? See how it's continuous? These two little triangles right here on either side tell you that it's continuous. Then I would have to move that like that. Then I select these, then I select that, then I hit delete. Now I've restored that clip. What? I mean, come on, that just takes, I'm gonna undo all that. That just takes so much longer, right? Let's go up to our keyboard shortcuts. As you know, if you are a regular viewer of this channel, you know I'm all about the keyboard, and this is no exception. In fact, this is one of the most important things. For me, I have insert and overwrite on F9 and F10 because that's where they were for me on Final Cut 7. So when I started working in Premiere, I put them there. Not for nothing, I put these same functions on my Avid keyboard in that same place. In Avid, they natively are on V and B, right? But, and so I still have those on V and B in Avid, but every now and again, the muscle memory goes up to F9 and F10, so now it matches. So if you're using multiple NLEs, like you're using Resolve, you're using Premiere, you're using Avid, what have you, try and get your keyboards to be as similar as possible. Rearrange your keyboards so that you can move between each NLE and not have it mess up your head. Have that kinesthetic memory still working for you, that muscle memory still working for you. Anyway, let's come down here. You're gonna wanna write insert, you're gonna wanna put insert edit Here it is. That's paste insert. But here's just regular insert. Under clip, video options, insert. Here it is, F9. Let me get up my little magic mouse. Let's turn on the magic mouse. Here it is, video options, insert frame hold segment. I don't know what that's all about. But under video options is insert. Right there, insert. That's what you want. Clip, video options, insert. I'm on F9. You put it wherever it makes sense to you. I want to say natively, I think it might be, I forget where it is natively on Premiere. Let's look, shall we? It's got to be somewhere on the Premiere Pro default. On the Premiere Pro default, insert is, yeah, here it is, insert and overwrite. So on comma is insert. You're going to push it away and insert the clip. Under the period is overwrite. You're going to tramp over stuff. You're just going to overwrite stuff, right? So that's where it is natively on your keyboard. Period, the comma, and the period. For me, I've of course moved them because of all the reasons I've already said, but there they are. If they're not on your keyboard or you mapped over those keys, put them somewhere on your keyboard so that I can come up here. I want this 2-second thing to insert here. I want it to push away all the other clips and set it and push them away. I don't want to trounce over it. If I have my V1 going to V1 right here and I just hit insert right now, or I'm sorry, I just hit overwrite right now. I'm going to hit overwrite. Boom. Now it's trounced over that, right? Or I could put it up here, V1 to V2, and I hit overwrite. Now it's overwritten that. Now I'm going to hit insert one more time. Boom. Now I've inserted it. It didn't affect either of these clips. If you think your way is better, let me know. I want to know. I always want to know. I always want to discover new, better ways to do stuff. Before we do number 2, let me just tell you, if you're looking at what I'm doing and you're like, whoa, how'd you learn all that? Or how can I learn all that? I've opened up my calendar. So if you're looking for some personalized help, you can hop on my calendar and have a one-on-one with me. Free 20-minute consultation on any part of editing that you want to talk about. I'm here to help you with your career. This won't be open for long, so take me up on it. Free 20-minute consult. Plus, don't forget there's a bunch of free PDFs that I've created that can take your editing skills to the next level. Look for those links in the description. Okay, number 2, timeline organization. Let's talk about it. Notice on this little timeline right here, even in a demo to you, I'm being very, very exact about where stuff is in the timeline. I've seen some nightmare timelines. I've worked on some nightmare timelines where I'm the editor who's had to step in to the timeline. Let me tell you something. If you're an editor and you're not going to be the last editor on it, let's say you're doing a pass and then it's going to go to another editor. If you're putting your clips willy-nilly about the timeline, just capriciously, not even thinking about where it is on video 1, video 2, going up layers, audio, your audio's all over the place. Some of your talking's on A1, some of the talking's on A3, some of the music's on A1, and you're just willy-nilly putting stuff all over your timeline. The editor who comes in after you hates you. They hate you. They hate you, and they're talking to their friends about how much they hate you, how much they hated the way you had zero organization. This is a big mistake that I see people making, especially in Premiere Pro video editing. I see this mistake a lot, right? It happens, still happens in Avid. I don't know about Resolve yet. I haven't stepped into anyone else's timeline in Resolve, but I still see this happening in Avid on occasion. Doesn't happen quite as often, but in Premiere Pro video editing, this happens all the time because a lot of people are completely self-taught. There are not that many self-taught Avid editors, but there are a lot of Premiere Pro self-taught editors. here is a timeline. Now, all this media is offline in this screenshot, right? All the media is offline in this screenshot, but you will be able to get the idea from it. First of all, here we go. Okay, all of this stuff, right? Look at this. These are the video layers. Where is it? Here's the video layer, right? V1, V2, V3. All this, I'm gonna put this at the bottom. This is just video layers, right? Just video layers. Now, these are interviews that are 2-camera interviews. So this makes sense, right? This makes sense. You're gonna cut your track, go to the other camera, right? If you're not doing a multicam kind of thing. So this all makes sense. Graphics are up a level. That makes sense. This doesn't need to be quite so high. That all makes sense. But look when we get to here. This is the old timeline, right? This is a timeline I inherited. First of all, I'll show you what the whole timeline looked like later. It was a nightmare. But you can see, right? Here the editor has gone up layers for no reason. All of this shit is covering all of this stuff. None of this stuff is seeable because of the stuff that's on top of it, and all this stuff is up layers. I know a lot of people like to work where they're like, oh, here's a piece of B-roll. Now I'm going to put another piece of B-roll on top of it because I might want this other piece of B-roll. And, and so they will mute that layer, right? They'll I think that's what they call it in here, muting, right? Under editing. I think it's a muting. I forget the difference between Avid and Premiere sometimes when I'm talking about muting clips, but I think it's called muting in Premiere. So they'll mute clips and then they'll leave those muted clips, or they won't even do it. They'll just stack stuff on top and they go, okay, well, I can't see this clip underneath it anyway, so it doesn't matter. But they're not the last editor on it. I'm coming in. I don't know why the hell you've stacked stuff up here. I don't know what you're doing with that. Why are you doing that? So if you know you're going to pass it off to another editor and you know you're not going to use this piece of B-roll, get rid of it. If you want to save it and you're working in Premiere Pro, right? And this is very, very specific to Premiere Pro video editing. In Avid, you can make a bin of pulls and pull it out into a bin. In Premiere, you can't just pull a clip into a bin out of your timeline like that. Right? So in Premiere, for Premiere Pro video editing specifically, I always have a pulls sequence. Pulls, P-U-L-L-S, pulls sequence. If I decide I don't want this clip, but I might want it later, I will copy and paste it into my pull sequence. Then I'll put a marker at the top of the sequence. Let's say this is my pull sequence and I just pulled out this soundbite into my pull sequence. I'll take this soundbite, I'll put my playhead here. I won't put it on the clip itself. I'm gonna put it up here, right? I'm gonna put it up here and I'm gonna come in and say, Barack cooking, pulled from Act 1, right? And so that I know where it's pulled from even. I might even tell myself that. Or at the very least, I'm going to say Barack cooking doesn't like spices, right? And so I know what that is. Now I can come back here when I'm looking for where was that clip, then I know because it's in my pull sequence and I've put a marker here so I can find it again easily. Otherwise, you're just going to be looking through a transcript of your pull sequence or, and that's like, it just takes so much longer. It's so much easier to just put a marker there. But that's what I do. That's what I do. I will pull it out. I'll put it in a sequence that's just called pulls. There's no reason for these clips to be here. None of them are seeable because all of these clips are stacked on top of it. Okay, really quickly, let's talk about audio. So let's come down here and let's fit this back in. This, by the way, you can see, here's the timeline I inherited. There's stuff on top of stuff on top of stuff. I don't know why, but then look at the audio also. Let me find an even better version of the audio for you. Look at this audio. This isn't even all of it, by the way. It goes down 16 layers of audio, all stacked like this. Let me go in. Let's go in closer on it. Here it is. Here's the audio. Look at this. Look at this audio. Now, I realize this is offline, but when it's online, guess how much of this audio is hearable? Just these 2 layers. None of this shit is hearable. None of it is hearable. None. Has 0 audio on it. So you know how some cameras, they come in and it's like they've got 2 usable tracks of sound, but for whatever reason it generates 8 tracks of sound with 6 tracks that are blank? Don't put those in the timeline. Why are these blank tracks in the timeline? Why do I have to go through now? I have to go through and I have to, if you come over here, I gotta solo it, hear it, what am I hearing? Solo it, hear it, what am I hearing? Why is this in here? I had to do that for all of this. Because what if it's here? What if this stuff on the bottom is better than this stuff on the top? Occasionally it happens where like tracks 1 through 4, nothing, or bad audio. Tracks 5 and 6 have the good audio. Tracks 7 and 8, nothing, or bad audio, right? Now I have to click through each one of these tracks and figure out why. If you're an assistant editor and you're doing this, get rid of the blank tracks. If you can't tell which is the mic that should be used, right? Maybe there's a boom and a lav mic. Go ahead and leave both of those. That's totally fine. Those tracks that have blank on them, get rid of them. Why are you making me look at those? Why do I have to listen to each track? If you're the editor that's come before me, why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? That's not even the bottom. Look, we're on 7. It continues down. It continues to get rid of those. Get rid of those. Now, on top of that, this person who I inherited this timeline from, they put music willy-nilly. Here's music on A4, here's music on A6, here's music on A9 and A10, just willy-nilly. Here's talking on A1, here's talking on A3, here's talking on A7. Here's some more talking on A7. Here's talking that goes to music. Why? No. Audio needs to be organized. If you look down here on my practice timeline where I'm just merely showing you some stuff, right? I'm just merely showing you, I still have mine organized. Here is my main audio on A1, my main talking on A1 and A2. Here's some B-roll talking. This B-roll came from here. Here's talking on B-roll. If A1 and A2 have my main interview talking, then this B-roll is going to be on 3. And my music's probably going to be even lower, right? So 3 and 4 will be my nat sound, right? So here's some B-roll, but there's talking on it. I don't want to put that with my interview because then if I need to adjust from the track level, I can put a filter on the track level for talking, for interview talking. That's going to have a totally different sound than naturally occurring sound that's outdoors. So if I want to fix a hiss straight across on my audio on all of my interviews, I can do it on the track level, but not if you're mixing music into it. You want to keep that stuff separate. You want to do that for everything you do, because if you get into bad habits, those bad habits will stick. So start doing it now. Mistake number 3 that I see people making specifically in Premiere Pro video editing. This is very specific to Premiere Pro. Folks who come from Avid are used to doing this, but people in Premiere are not used to doing this. Pay attention to where your track selectors are. It's easy to not pay attention to them in Premiere, especially if you're dragging and dropping stuff, right, from one right out of Premiere, right? If I wanted to drag this out here, right, I could just drag it into the timeline like that. But you want to pay close attention to what your track selectors are doing. Because this goes hand in hand with number 2. In Premiere Pro video editing, you don't have to think about this at all 85% of the time. In Avid, you have to think about this 100% of the time. So now that I'm giving you a different workflow, if you want to, right, if I want to insert this, let's put an in here and an out there, and I want to insert this into my timeline, I want to think about, where do I want it to go? If I'm just going to hit, if I have my V1 to V5 and I hit my button, for you guys it would be comma on the native Premiere Pro keyboard, and I want to insert this right where my playhead is, right? And I hit insert, well, now that's up on A5 for no reason. So if you're inserting stuff and you're like, why did it go all the way up there? Look at your track selector. V1 is going to V5. Bring it down. Let's put V1 to V2. I'm going to undo that. Now we've got V1 to V2. V2 is the layer I'm putting my B-roll on, right? So I'm going to put all my B-roll on V2. Now, if this was a feature doc and this is going to color correction, you're going to flatten all your layers all the way down as much as you can to the V1 track. So that's at the end. At the end, you will flatten your layers. But if you're just going along editing, or if I'm doing something for corporate, I like to keep my B-roll on the V2 layer. Just because it's quick, I can find it super quickly that way. So V1 to V2, I'm going to insert this right there. You're going to hit the comma. If you're on Premiere Pro, comma is insert, period is overwrite. So I'm going to hit my insert button. Boom. Now you see I inserted it right there. It went in right there. It went into the V2 layer because I have V1 on V2. If you've got V1 anywhere else, that's where it's going to insert it. This side is for your source. This side is for your timeline. Pay attention to where your track selectors are at any one time, especially on your source side, so you know where it's going, right? On your source side. But you also need to pay attention to where they are on the timeline side on occasion. Not as often as you do in Avid. In Avid, you do all the time. But for Premiere Pro video editing, the track selector on the sequence side, a little less important, but you do need it for certain functions like mark clip. You need to tell it. So if I wanted to mark clip and I'm up here on V4 and I hit mark clip, it's going to justify this entire thing, right? So if you wanted just to justify that, you have to come down here and use that track selector. But you guys get the idea, right? In Premiere Pro video editing, especially, you want to pay attention to these 3 things. They're going to make things better for you in the long run. And especially if you're working at a post house, you're not just doing like a one-on-one where you have a client, you're doing an edit for them. You can do it any way you want. I would suggest starting to get in the habit of doing things, properly. But if you're at a post house, ask them before you start. If you're the first person to start a sequence, ask them, how do you want your audio organized? Especially audio. You can ask them about the video too, but especially the audio. How do you want your audio organized? What do you want on A1? They may care. They may have already a sheet for you posted on the wall of your edit suite that says where they want everything mapped audio-wise. It will make a difference, trust me. I hope you learned stuff. Let me know if there's some stuff that you think are basic mistakes that you're seeing out there, or maybe mistakes that you did early on in your edit career. Let me know in the comments. I want to know. I can make a video on those if I haven't already. But I'm always curious to see what people have learned, what things they've encountered. Let me know in the comments. Also, don't forget, I've opened my calendar. Book that free consultation with me on anything. We can talk about any aspect you want. Okay, there you go. That's the whole enchilada. I will see you next time.